to a video tutorial. My name is Fotini. You're visiting the Stampin' Spot YouTube channel. And we're going to do a really fun thing today. So I am going to show you guys basically how to recreate this really cool looking shadow box card. Frame, card, whatever you want to call it. I actually have a couple variations. I played with this yesterday for the very first time, and I added a couple different kind of options as far as placement for the little village. So for this one, the village has the silver in the back, then the sand dunes, and then all the way down at the bottom we have the white part of the town. And the second one here, we have same thing, except I added another layer of sand in the front. So I just have a couple different designs. It's all basically the same. I was just playing around with it. So I really like how these came out. It's a regular 12 by 12 cardstock sheet that we're going to use. And we're going to use a couple different things. So we're going to use, this is Merry Little Christmas Designer Series paper, but because I already used all this beautiful cardstock, I'm going to use another piece of that Designer Series paper to hopefully recreate the stars, although this is like my favorite because it truly does look like a night sky. We're going to use the silver foil, Whisper White, this is Crumb Cake. We also have Whisper White up here with a stitched framelit oval, as well as a crushed curry cardstock cut out in a scalloped. And I also have here for Mary and Joseph and the shepherd, I didn't want them white because I have this white here, so I cut them out in very vanilla, and we used Night of Navy to stamp. Same thing for the star here, we used very vanilla stamped with crushed curry and a little wink of Stella. So it looks like it's complicated. It really isn't bad. And this one I actually added to the back. I just tested it. I added a little kind of hang so it doesn't flop all the way out and fall. So that way it stands sturdier. So these I still have to decorate. I was just on a roll making these. So these are spectacular for gifts to give to teachers and family and friends. And I just wanted to let you know that we'll be using the Night in Bethlehem stamp set. And it does come with matching. So we're going to use Blessed Christmas Wishes 1, 2, 3 stamp sets. And then I actually pack my thinlits. We're going to use these thinlits. Actually, we're using all of the thinlits. But these two, if you can tell, one is taller than the other. So this one has more bottom space here. That's the one that we're going to cut out in the silver, and we're going to put it in the background. And then this shorter one we're going to cut out in the white. Okay, so we'll show you how to do all that as we get to there. The most important thing is to actually make our shadow box frame. So 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. You're going to score on all four sides the same measurements. You're going to score it in 3/4 increments. 3/4. Let me get this so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. Let me adjust. Okay, hold on here. Let me adjust you guys a sec. Okay, so 3/4 increments, starting at 3/4, 1 1/2. 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. And we're going to do that on all four sides. That will be step 1. And let's just get rolling. I actually used the thicker part of the stylist. I just found it comfortable yesterday using that. So I already have my marker tool here at 3 1/4. So I'm just kind of going to go ahead and start there and come rolling down. 3 1/4, 1 1/2. 2 1/4, and 3. So they're 3/4 increments, and we're going to draw 4 lines all the way down. Really kind of easy. This part's the easy part. Actually, the whole thing is fairly easy to put together. Once you do the one and you understand where you need to cut to make your shadow box, the rest just came like I popped these out super fast yesterday. I think I made like 6 boxes and they came together really, really easy. So we're now on side 3, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3 on the last side, 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, and 3. Now, step 2. After you did all 4 sides, you're going to add 2 score lines on the top and the bottom. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to 3 3/4, which is right here, and you're going to bring it down only as far as the second score line. Then you're going to go to 8 1/4 and do the same. So 3 3/4 down to the second score line, 8 1/4 down to the second score line, and then we're just going to flip it 180 degrees. So now the bottom is now up. We're going to do the same thing, 3 3/4 down to the second score line, 8 1/4 down to the second score line. It's okay if I went a little over there. And that is basically done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut. And I want to kind of show you an easier way to see what we're cutting. I think if you realize what it is, you might just visually see it better. So let's see if I can do this without messing up this paper. So we're going to cut wherever we're going to put this blue. So we're going to cut all the way up here to there. And same thing over here to there. This is for visual purposes only. Obviously, don't do this if you're wanting to give this as a gift. So these are going to be cut. Okay. This is going to then come down to here, to the very first score line. Let me push this up here. So now this bottom section that we actually went and did only to the second score line, that is going to get cut to that second score line. Same thing up here. It's going to go to the second score line. And it's going to go to the second score line. Second score line. Okay. The tricky part, and it really isn't even tricky, you just have to kind of get your scissors, is you have to go from point to point, from score mark to score mark. I'm just going to show you. So you're just going to have to turn your scissors when you get to this point to meet this corner of the square to that corner of the square. And it really is just a diagonal cut. Once you do it, you'll be like, oh, that's it. And I'm just showing you here so that you can see what you're going to end up with later on. Okay, so all this is getting cut, 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 and cut. Does that make sense? I hope so. So let's try cut it out. Super easy. So if you think about that and you start here at the bottom where we have that score mark to the second one, and you figure I got to go up to the second score mark. I got to turn it a little to a 45 to get it to that point. And then I got to go up again to that top score mark. Then turn it around and cut the whole thing out. Okay. So we're going to go again. We're going to go up. All right, everybody. So this is what you're supposed to have. Okay. Doesn't matter which way it goes. So these are going to get burnished and folded upon. So let me put away my scoring tool. Where is my bone folder? So the next thing we're going to do is basically burnish all these sides. So I'm basically flipping it over, going over the mountain. Now, when we create this, obviously I'm doing this as a demo, but you don't want to actually put highlighter when you do yours. Maybe a light pencil mark if you feel you need to. But I think if you get a general idea of where you need to cut, I'm telling you, one time and you totally got it. Okay. So what's going to happen is these are going to fold in on themselves, and we're going to use tear and tape to adhere them down, because you do want it to be sturdy. I don't think snail would be strong enough to keep them down. And if this is something you're giving to someone who you would like them to display year after year, like I am doing, I have mine to be given as gifts, you want it to last. So use something sturdy as far as the adhesive to keep the box in its position. Okay. So basically what we're going to do is on this bottom layer of the scoring, we're going to add tear and tape, as well as, what did I do with my tear and tape? Here it is. As well as on these two cut flaps, this diagonal on each corners, the diagonal parts are going to get tear and tape. And we need tape here and here to, when the corners come together, to allow them to adhere. So again, it sounds complicated. It really isn't. I like to start on the long side, get all my long strips out of the way. So I'm going to just, this is Stampin' Up's tear and tape. The great thing is you just tear. I turn this over to the next one. It helps if I'm straight, right? I don't add the corner ones until I'm ready. I think it's just mentally easier if I just know I'm going all the way around. Okay, and now I'm on my last one for this. Okay. So, like we said, the two pieces that are cut, where we mitered that and made a diagonal cut, we're going to take, you don't even need a lot. You just need enough to cover, like basically from a score line to a score line, just like that. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, and I'm going to apply here. And the only reason I flip it upside down is because it's easier for my cutting of my tape instead of moving all over. Okay. So here we go. So here's we're going to just burnish them down. That actually helps the tape stick to the bottom, and it makes it easier to peel the layer off the top, the backing. Okay, to each corner. Okay, this is an important part. You want to fold the two longest sides first and adhere them down first, and the cut sides second, because of these tape pieces here. We need them to sit on top. So I'll show you how it's going to look. We're going to take this, we're going to fold it in half at that second score line. We're going to take this tape backing off, and we're literally just going to flip it over and press down, and then we'll push back to make sure it's secure. So it's going to form a little, if you can see that, like a little square, a little tunnel. When we do both sides of these, I'm just showing you, then we're going to do this part. And this, because this is up, we have to actually push it down a little. And this is going to come up and over and snuggle in here to get a nice corner. And that's why we have tape here, so that it will stick to this longer piece. And I'll show you as we do it now. So it's already burnished. I'm going to just get my piercing tool, which comes in handy for pulling this stuff up. I'm going to just fold it over in half and fold it over in half again, and then just push it back and it's up. Really easy. That's where the scoring comes in. So it's in half. I'm folding it over in half, pushing down, and just popping it up. Really super easy. Now, here I actually take off all the tape. And this won't stick right away onto this, don't worry, because you'll need to apply pressure. So I'm taking off all the backing. In order for this to lay flat, I need to kind of smush these out of the way. So I just kind of flatten them a little as I'm getting ready to fold this in half, just like we did, and then half again. I push that down and I pop it up. So my tape now is actually under here. Now I'm going to turn it around again. See, it's not sticking. It's ready, but it's not sticking yet. I'm going to remove the rest of the tape backing, get my other side ready. Do the same thing. Oops. Fold it in half, kind of move the sides out of the way, and then just fold it again in half. Put pressure on that bottom and then pop it up. Now we're going to push those long pieces in towards the center, and we're going to then make sure the corners are good and put some pressure lightly where that tape is, and voila, you have yourself a shadow box. So the next thing that I did, let me see if I have this piece of scrap. Not scrap, actually. Is a piece of 12 by, I don't know what this is by, 12 by 4 maybe? Yes, 12 by 4 because I wanted to be able to get 3 out of a 12 by 12 sheet. And I'm going to use this as like my stand. So it's 4 by 12. So we're going to score it at 6 because I want it to be as big as my box. My box is a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock that gives us a 6 by 6 square. So what we're doing here is I'm just going to turn this over, increase this. I'm going to add some glue, but I realized when I was doing this yesterday that I really wanted to add a little bit of ribbon to kind of keep my frame from collapsing as it stands. So you don't need a ton, but you will need it to have it ready because after you put the glue on it, once you stick it, you're not getting it up. So I'm just going to turn this over. I'm going to get my Tombow glue. You know what? You can also use, I don't have a lot of this Tombow glue and I'm going to need it. So I'm going to use my Terran tape just because I know this is sturdy. And I am running out of my Tombow and I'm going to need that for some of the more fine tip things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on all 4 sides, and this will definitely hold it. And this is just going to be the stand that holds the frame from collapsing. So no big thing here, but it is, I found necessary just for better presentation. So we're just going to peel this off. Turn this around. Okay. Trick. I want to add the tape, the sticky part. Add the ribbon to the tape before I lay it onto my box so that it is sturdy and hidden out of view. So now I'm just going to basically eyeball this for it to be centered. I'm going to push it down. Okay. So now when you open this, you see this is hidden underneath you. You're not seeing it. So then what I'll do is I'll fold this up, and I'm going to just get a little piece of Terran tape. I'm going to fold this up, and I'm going to put tape. And luckily, this is like perfect tape. The width of it is perfect. And I'm just going to push this down. I'm going to peel the backing off, and I'm just going to hold it in place where I want it to be, and I'm going to close the flap and press down. So this now, you have yourself a nice little stand that it won't collapse on itself, okay? I probably could have used even a little bit shorter ribbon, but that's okay. So that way, now it'll stand. It was going to stand, but now it won't fall completely flat. It'll stay put. So that's our base. Okay. So now to design it. I'm going to use this DSP because I ran out of the other one. I've already done several boxes and there's only so much of that DSP per packet. But what we're going to do, the inside of this box is 4.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to cut a deep piece of square, 4.5 by 4.5. Now, if you don't have a lot of DSP, like how I ran into my situation yesterday, I can cut it 4.5 and a little shorter on the height, because I'm going to put other things in the bottom that will hide it. So if it's a matter of conserving paper so that you can get your projects done and do multiples, then go ahead and make it a little shorter and just know that it will be hidden. Oh, I did 4, not 4.5. I'll just give you an example just by my goof that I just did. So I just cut that at 4, and I'm going to cut it at 4.5. And I'm going to show you what I mean about, you know, if you don't have enough paper and you want to make sure you do have enough. So I cut this, instead of cutting it at 4.5 by 4.5, I cut it by 4.5 and 4. So I'm just putting this down so you can see. So you see here at the bottom, I have just a blank space. That's okay, because there are going to be other layers that are going to go, so no one's going to see that part. Just make sure you have the top half at least visible, okay? So you can cut it at 4.5 by 4.5, or 4.5 by 3, by 3.5, by 4, whatever, however you need to cut. So we're also going to cut 4 panels to cover the top, and those are 6 inches long. And we're going to cut them 1/8 of an inch shorter than that. And they're also 3/4 of an inch wide. So we're going to try and cut them 1/8 of an inch shorter than that. So that's a little bit tricky, but we can do it. So I'm going to take my piece of scrap that I just cut. I'm going to go to 6 7/8. No, I'm sorry, 5 7/8, because I'm cutting it 1/8 shorter. And then we're going to turn this over. And we're going to go, here's 3/4. We're going to move over 1/8. And I'm going to use my, this is a little tight, just kind of butt it up here. And I'm going to cut 4 panels. We're going to keep 2 pieces long, just as they are. And the reason is because when you try to miter corners, as I've watched my husband do when he tries to do construction and do corners, you know, there's a method to the madness. And if you don't do it precisely, then your corners don't come out nice and it looks lopsided. So what I did was, I'm just putting, please tell me I have glue. Oh no. Maybe not, and I don't think I have any more. Let me see. Let me see if there's any in here. Are all my glues done? There we go. Okay, this is a different glue, but hopefully. Okay. Put a little too much there. So when I put this straight, again, remembering to allow a little bit of that white to pop through. Then the pieces that are going to go on the left and right, we can just easily use our scissors to cut a nice clean miter. Okay. And again, I like the liquid glue because it allows you the opportunity to move it around and position it exactly where you want. But if you don't have any, I guess tear and tape or nail or fast fusers is fine. Just add a little glob here. Okay. So now these pieces here, you can lay them right on top, but of course it always is a cleaner look. So basically I just kind of eyeball where it sits and I just cut a diagonal with my snips. It's very scientific the way I do it, but that's the way I do it. I don't know. I'm sure there's probably a better way to measure and be all exacting, but I don't, you know, it's okay. So that's the one side, and I basically do the same thing to the other side. And then I'm going to also just add some on the back of here too. Keep that panel from wiggling around. If you're putting pattern paper on that has a direction, just be aware of which way your stand is, your shadow box stands. you know, make sure that this is standing upright if you have something that's directional here. Okay, so we have that part, right? Okay, let's do some cleaning up here. So how about we get out our stamps and do some Stampin'. So I have white, and I don't need all this. I only need a piece to stamp my sentiment. Okay, and I do need a piece of very vanilla. Let me see if I can find a piece. Okay, so I have a couple pieces of very vanilla. And I'm going to need a piece of crushed curry cardstock to cut for my embellishment around. And I know I'm going to need this for my Dune, so I know this is 4.5 wide, so I'm just going to take this and cut. I don't need all of it cut, but I'm just going to cut 4.5 wide, maybe by, I'll just say 2.5 inches, because we're just going to freehand this. That way we just have all our pieces ready. So I'm going to get out my blocks. We need to stamp in Night of Navy, Mary and Joseph on the donkey, and the shepherd. And we're also going to stamp in crushed curry. Grab the star. Okay. And then we need to have our sentiment in Blessed Christmas Wishes. Grab another block. This is too small. Where's another block? All right, we'll just swap that in a second. So Night of Navy's coming out. We're doing these two. We're going to die cut them out all at one time. So when you're going to do something like this and you try to get multiple things done at one time, it saves you a lot of aggravation. Aggravation, to say the least. Okay, so this is going with this one. So Mary and Joseph. And I just use very vanilla just to get a contrast from the white. Okay. Shepherd. Okay. And we still need this because we want to write our sentiment. Get our sentiment, and we're going to be cutting this out with a stitched shaped framelit in oval. It's okay that it's upside down. Okay, and we're done with this one. I'll grab crushed curry. And we're going to get the star. So we're going to cut the shepherd, Mary, the star, and our ovals, hopefully, all in one pass. Very vanilla, star. Okay? It saves you a lot of time if you do it this way. So let's get them all together. Bring my big shot forward. Sorry if this is a super long video, but I think it's nice to see the steps. It's already 30 minutes. I'll try to speed some parts up, I guess, in the editing process. But it's helpful to see how all of this is kind of done sometimes. So, okay, let me cut this. So we have this, and we have this, and we have this. Okay, so let's get some things out. If your dies want to be funny, not meaning haha, but they don't want to stay, you can use a little bit. See how that one doesn't want to stay where it is? You can use a little washi tape or some sticky 3M sticky notes. I'm going to actually use a little washi tape because that's not going to stay. And then it just allows it to make sure it stays where you want it and cuts the way you want it to cut. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so we'll leave that there. And washi tape is good, as well as the stickies, because they don't tear your paper apart when you try to get it off. We're going to do the star. Okay, this is going to have the stitched oval. As soon as I find where I put it, I'll put it away. And it is not the biggest of the stitched ovals. I would say second or third down the road. So that's just going to go like that. And then the layering oval framelits. Really super versatile, these layering ovals, as well as the squares and the circles. It's just, they are just really awesome to have in your stash of things. Okay, so we're going to make this first pass. Hopefully everything comes out good. And then we'll have to do one more big shot run, which is our town. And then we can put it all together. Hopefully that nothing moved. Okay. Let's see what moved. Did this move? Okay, well that's still got it cut. So we have our oval that's scalloped. And that will go like that. And then we have our, oh, I don't want to lose these. We have our star, which has come out really nicely. And then we have our shepherd, which also has come out nicely. And you see, no problem taking it off of the paper and the washi tape. And then Mary and Joseph, which has come out nicely. Okay, clear all this out of my... So we have, this is the background. We have this as the foreground. And then I have a piece that I'm going to use to make a dune. And I'm going to use Tip Top Taupe. This is crumb cake cardstock. But I'm going to use Tip Top Taupe just to add a little bit of color. And I want to make like a dune. And it's really easy. I just basically start on one end, I come up and I kind of just make a hill. I come down, bring it back up again. Really easy. And I just take my daubers, and I've already used this one, so I know this is the right one. And I dab it into the ink. And I'm just going to kind of cover the edges first. And then I'm going to come back after I do the edges, and I'm going to kind of just blend it a little bit. So it actually, in circular motions, just kind of going right over the top. And I go all the way down too. Now I don't know how much I'm going to need to cut off. I'll see that once I get down here. But I just think, and you can do lots of stuff. You can use different color inks to add a different, if you want different colors on it. But we'll just make it pretty simple for this. All right, let's assemble, y'all. So let me take my poker tool, poke this out. Just poking all these little ones out because we don't need them. Poke all these ones out. So one is going to be, the dune is going to be, the sand is going to be popped up. So you can put dimensionals on everything if you want to. I don't think I did on my sample one. Yeah, I don't think I did. So on this one, I just kind of put on the palm trees, if I can get it out. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to try and get it so that it tucks all the way in. I will tell you what I did in doing these. I found that I needed to judge where my star needed to be first in order to place my town. So I'm going to put my star where I want it first, and then the town will go right under it. Just helps to gauge how high I need it to be. So you see that? Okay. Okay. And then the dune, obviously that's too high, so I'm going to just cut this maybe about half the way. And I'm going to put it like right about, kind of like right there. I'm just going to pop these up just to bring that dimension into the image here. I probably didn't need to cut that much off, but I did, so it is what it is now. Okay. All right. Okay. And then this bottom piece, if I wanted to, I guess I could add that. This bottom piece is going to go right. I guess you can even add that into having dimensionals if you wanted to add more sand. You're going to have to snip a little bit off here, probably right about like that much. And we'll add some, why not? You can shadow this by adding a little what do you call it? Shading on it, but I'm just going to leave it plain white. And we're going to pop these up. So I'm just trying to get it where it's kind of meeting the sand at the bottom there, and I'm going to put this next piece, just going to kind of make another little wave. And do the same thing we did before, and just add a little bit more color. Okay, just make sure it clears what you need it to clear, and you can even tuck it down in if you'd like to, and you could probably just even leave it there without putting any glue. I think that would be fine. So now we're just going to take a little glue. We're going to stick our Mary and Joseph and our shepherd. I'm only putting glue on the bottom piece where I want to stick them, and a little bit on the gown because I want to adhere him to the bottom and to the side. So they're actually on the outside of the frame looking into the town. Same thing here. I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just kind of basically doing their feet. Okay, and they're going to be walking along this way. Okay. And the last thing we have to add is a little bit of snail to stick our sentiment. And we're going to put that right here. And I love how this just nests so nicely here. And I'm going to put 2 dimensionals, and I'm going to put the dimensionals more to the upper side because I'm going to have it hanging into the frame. So I just don't need any at the bottom, just here at the top. Take this off. And there you go. You have a really fun, I think it was very therapeutic to do, and creative gift to give to any loved one or friend who celebrates Christmas. And it can be displayed all year round. And it's just one of those things that they will treasure and you will enjoy making. So all the information of the materials will be listed in the description below. If you like this video and like to see more, please click like and subscribe so you won't miss out on my future videos. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know this one was a long one. I hope it was worth for you guys watching. And please put some comments below. I'd love to hear if you have any tips or tricks or any recommendations or something that you would do better or easier. That way we all get to learn. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.